So what I'm doing here this morning, folks, is fixing up one of my major screw-ups, the one that took place over 10 years ago. When we assembled the hull, we basically split it at the widest part and spliced in an extra meter of length. And at the time we had a hell of a time getting the panels to line up and sit on the forms, and it was a bit of a struggle, but what it did was it increased the beam by about 4 inches. And when that happened, when I got to the point where I was putting the cabin top on, it was 4 inches too narrow. So I spliced in a piece here, and we will rough fare this, get it ready so that the cabin top can be glassed, the seams all around, and then I can begin to work my way across the deck. If I have enough epoxy, I don't know if I do. Finances are getting a little tight right now, but we'll make do the best of what we have. So I'm going to finish sanding this. I'll blow it off, I'll wipe it down, and then I'll mix up some more mud, and we'll do a rough coat on this, and try and get it as fair as we can. It's not too bad. It actually gives us a little more cabin space, but anyways, 4 inches doesn't make a whole lot of difference, but we'll certainly use it. So I'm just going to continue with the sand insanity and enjoy. So this was the first of 2 coats of epoxy filler. This is not a fairing compound. This is my regular epoxy glue, which is made up of wood flour, Cavasil, and epoxy. So this will cook for a few hours. Probably come back after supper when it cools off a bit and give it a second coat. Hey folks, a little something different today. We're going to perform an experiment. I don't know if any of you have looked at the price of peel ply lately, but it's kind of out of control. A roll I bought a few years ago cost me $100. Now it costs $400. So my wife very graciously went through her huge hoard of material in her sewing room and came up with some interesting pieces of fabric. And we don't know exactly what these are, but they're all synthetic, so they're polyester or materials like that. So I've got 3 samples that she provided me with, and I have 1 sample of actual peel ply, and we're going to lay out some 6 by 8 inch patches of fiberglass on a piece of dressed plywood here, and we're going to epoxy them and peel ply to them and see how it turns out. So I've got my samples laid out and my epoxies mixed up. I'm going to use a chip brush and squeegee today, and first thing I'm going to do is pre-coat my panels in epoxy and then lay the tape on and the various peel pies. So the next step is just to wet out our glass, and I didn't pre-wet any of this glass, so it'll probably take a little while. So we'll probably be a little liberal with the epoxy on this as well. I think this is about a 17 ounce biaxial glass. It comes from Boatbuilder Central in Vero Beach, Florida. I was also the formulator and the seller of this epoxy, and I've used this epoxy almost exclusively since I started building this boat 11 plus years ago. So it's good stuff. It's price-wise, it's very good. I can even get it. I can even get it here in Canada for less than I can buy epoxy from Canadian sources. So pretty happy with that. But during COVID, I had to import some through brokers, and that cost me a small fortune. And I've also bought a gallon of epoxy from a supplier near here, and it was $260 for a gallon. And I've never used it before. I bought it to use on the Boston Whaler project. But, if I have to, I'll use it. Don't know why, maybe just for coating interior surfaces. I won't be exposed to the weather. It's pretty cool in here this morning, so the epoxy's a little thick, but don't hurt things, I don't think. Just find it doesn't wet out the glass quite as easily as it does when it's warm. The viscosity goes down. But we'll get there eventually. There's a few air bubbles, it's not a big deal. So the first piece I'm going to put down is actual peel ply. And I'm going to try to zoom in on that. So next one I'm going to put down is this funky digital camo stuff, and it's pretty lightweight. Not sure what material it is, but we're going to test it anyways. I'm going to do this one, and this is another synthetic that my wife gave me. And it has some potential in weight. It's very very similar to the actual Aerotech peel fly. Could be nylon, could be polyester, I'm not too sure. That went down really nice. And the last one, which is this one here, the fabric is a lot heavier than the others. And again, I think it's probably a polyester material like this. I think this one may have the best potential to be a fabric store peel fly. I think all of these fabrics are used for inner liners on clothing and jackets and things like that. So they're all pretty lightweight. This one acts a lot like peel fly. So we're back here the next morning, and our peel ply experiment is ready to continue. I think I'm going to start with the real peel ply, and then see if I can determine which comes off easier, and we'll have a look at the texture that's left, and let's see how the fabric store peel plies stack up against the real thing. So. So that was normal peel ply. The epoxy has a pretty firm grip on it. I don't know what other resins are like, but I see some of the guys working with peel ply and it seems to come off pretty easy. So this one was my favorite, this blue stuff, and it has a bit the same weight, same texture, maybe a little lighter than that, but we'll see how it comes off. I got most of it. Now comes the hard part, when you gotta pick up a corner to try and grab hold of it. Came off pretty easy, but as you can see, it shredded itself, which is the problem I've had with the regular peel ply. It's not too bad. Texture is almost identical from what I can feel. So we're down here to the next one. Oh, that was nice. That was nice. Hardly any texture on the layup at all. Very, very fine weave. Probably something that would require a sanding after it was done, but I usually find I have to end up sanding anyways. And the last one, which was my favorite, was the camo, which made it a little hard to see through. We've got little dry spots and stuff, you can't really see it. So. Again, it's a lighter weight material, and it tears pretty easy. So, that in itself is not a desirable characteristic of peel ply. You'd really like it to come off in one piece. Two pieces, three pieces maybe. Yeah, some of these don't come off, and I usually have to end up sanding them off. So, but the texture of that one was good, a little finer than the actual peel pie. This one's got virtually no texture at all, which would be good if you were doing a finished surface. You could probably, I don't know if you can hear that, but there is some texture there. You could probably paint right over that without having to do any fairing. That one there. These two are about the same. No texture. This is definitely peel pie has the most aggressive texture on it, so that would probably require some filling and fairing before you have the finished product. So there you go. We had our camo, which is pretty good, but again, it shredded itself getting it off. This was the lightweight material, probably polyester by the way they came off. That one's good. Would leave a nice finish with minimal fairing. The blue stuff, which was a little heavier, again it tore, but it wasn't too bad. And that left a nice texture. Would probably need minimal fairing. And our original peel ply, which gives us a pretty aggressive texture, ready for fairing, maybe paint, depending on how careful you are putting it down. And there you have it. Fabric store peel pie. Again, it's not much. It doesn't appear to be any economy to buying it other than it's available locally. You do use a tendency to use a lot of this stuff, but I've only got a couple of major components left to do that will need peel ply. The foredeck, the cabin top, and the main cabin roof. So there you have it. There's our little experiment. Hope you enjoyed it. That was fun. Okay, that pretty much covers it for the port side. I'm just going to rinse and repeat and do the starboard side. The only thing I'm doing different is I'm going to continue our little peel ply experiment, and on the port side I've used the AirTech, and on the starboard side I'm going to use some of the bluish green material that Lori has, and we'll give that a shot and see how it works in a real world situation. So I'm not going to bother filming this. I'm going to turn the music up, get it done, knock it out, and we'll come back and revisit these seams tomorrow when they've finished. So I'm going to leave off right here.